The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Rogue River, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34624. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new vehicle. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks on the passenger and driver's side frame rail. Moving up to the driver's side face of the bumper, you'll find an air horn recessed in the bumper. Moving toward the center, you'll find your siren also recessed into the center bumper. Moving up onto the bumper extension is where you'll find a tubbed storage location, dry deck material, and also Velcro straps. And moving all the way to the passenger side front, you'll find a swivel 1.5-inch discharge. Also on the bumper extension, passenger side and driver's side, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Moving up once again to the very top at swivel 1.5-inch discharge. Moving to the headlight structure, holding low and high beam headlights. Moving up from that location, you'll find a emergency warning light on the inside, and then on the outer edge, you'll find a turn indicator arrow. As we move around to the side of the driver's bumper extension, you'll find that side-facing emergency warning light. Moving up onto the A-pillar of the cab, you'll find a marker turn indicator light. As we move into the step well, you'll find your air inlet. It is an auto-eject air inlet. Also moving just to the right, you'll find an auto-eject shoreline inlet. As we move to the very bottom of the step, you'll find perimeter lighting at all points of entry for firefighters. It is the long, narrow light underneath the step area. As we move to the door of the driver's seat, you'll find a yellow placard manufactured by Pierce Information. We'll talk about that in a moment. And also all of your warning and caution information. As we move back to the placard manufactured by Pierce Manufacturing, this has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, VIN number, and also the fluid capacities and fluid types. Let's move upward onto the door, where you'll find a placard attached to the A-pillar door. You'll find a height 10 feet 11 inches, length 28 feet 5 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 44,000 pounds. If you make any adjustments or changes to your vehicle, please update this placard. Let's move now to the seat area, where you'll find just at the base area of the seat, you'll find when plugged into shore power, your battery charging system will be active. As we move up to the seat itself, you'll find a warning information here regarding the use of seat belts. As we move back down to the very bottom, a little bit of a close-up of the battery voltage indicator. Let's move back to the front of the seat area, where you'll find your comfort control for your air ride seat. This is the inflate deflate button. As we move now to the front dash, about the left knee of the operators, where you'll find your master battery switch. It is the silver quarter turn switch. To the right, you'll find your engine, transmission, and ABS diagnostic port. Moving down, you'll find ABS diagnostic switch, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit switch. Let's move up to the dash area. On the left side, you'll find the ignition and start switch. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find an EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master. This will activate or deactivate all of your emergency warning lights. Just inside of that location, you'll find your headlight switch, and inside of that, you'll find a switch labeled panel increase or decrease. This allows you to brighten or dim lights within the preview of the operator. Let's move to the actual steering column. You'll find a push for telescoping and pull for tilt. As we move upward, you'll find your turn indicator. And then also as we move downward onto the column itself, you'll find the hazard switch for your 4-way hazard lights. Let's move now to the dash cluster. On the left-hand side, you'll find your transmission temperature, oil pressure. You'll also find DEF level and water temp. Moving to the right, you'll find volts, fuel, front and rear air. In the center, you'll find your tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information displays above and below the speedometer. Moving just to the right, you'll find your OK to engage the high idle indicator and also switch. As we move further down, you'll find your water pump PTO engaged, which is an indicator, an OK to pump, and OK to pump and roll. Just to the right, you'll find your main mirror control and also your convex mirror control. As we move all the way to the top, you'll find your system parking brake, pull to apply, and push to release. Let's move just to the right and slightly upward, where you'll find your monitor for your backup camera. Moving downward from this location, you'll find siren control and PA speaker system. Just to the right, you'll find a push to apply your fluid for your windshield wiper and also wiper control speed. As we move down, you'll find your engine brake on and off, a setting switch for low, medium, and high, load manager, and also your mirror heat. Once again, system parking brake. To the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad, which is a push button. Moving back up to the very top, just above your climate control, you'll find a map light. There is a switch located at the base. As we move downward, you'll find your climate control for heat, air conditioning, and also defrost. Moving down, you'll find a warning label, and then also next to it, you'll find your 12-volt access via USB style. Let's take a look overhead. We'll find a set of switch panels directly over the driver's position. Let's start on the left with your emergency master, roof light, front warning light, side warning light, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When any of these switches have been engaged, the light switch will illuminate. Let's move just to the right of this location to an additional switch panel where you'll find your high beam flash, a future switch, driver's scene lights, passenger scene lights, and also cargo lights. Moving all the way toward the center of the cab, same location. We're going to start on the left with the pressure. This is a digital readout for your pump pressure when in pump and roll mode, and then also a water level indicator. Let's move just to the right from this location, and underneath the area we're just referencing, you'll find a puck style light. This is flashing, indicating do not move your apparatus. You may have a compartment or door open. Also, you'll find push on and off over each seat, a red or white lens light. Also, just a quick general view here of your air conditioning. Let's go ahead and move to the exterior front wheel area. First, you'll find Alcoa aluminum wheels, Goodyear tires, G291. You'll also find a sight gauge located in the center axle area. As we move over the cab area, you'll find a side-facing scene light. Also, as we move to the rear section and cab door, you'll find on the door panel all of our warning labels. Down at the lower portion, you'll find this red grab handle affixed to the hinge area. This is for gaining access in and out of the cab. As we look just as a general view inside the cab, you'll find two SCBA seats rear facing. You'll also find directly overhead air conditioning unit and also your intercom system. As we look to the rear of the engine, you'll find your access for your daily checks for oil and transmission directly behind the pan door. As we move to the rear wall of the cab is where you'll find an EMS compartment. Also, to gain access, you'll find a roll-up door located in the very front. Let's now move to the exterior of the pump panel area. Just under the pump panel running board here is where you'll find your perimeter lighting. As we move upward from this location, you'll find a tubbed storage location for hose storage and also dry deck material and also Velcro strap. Let's move down to the pump panel where you'll find on the left-hand side the driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female inlet. And as we move further up from this location, you'll find this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they've received proper training. Your pump is a Watrous. A serial number is located on the right, and it is a 1,250 GPM pump. As we move further to the right, the American flag Eagle Pierce logo is your large diameter pump intake. There are also two pan doors for gaining access behind the pump panel, and as we move to the very far right, you'll find your pump drain. Let's move upward from this location where you'll find the number 1 and number 3 driver's side discharge. These are 2.5-inch discharges. You'll also find all of your color-coded and labeled discharges, starting first with the front discharge, crosslay 1, crosslay 2, deluge, number 2 and number 1 and number 3, driver's side and passenger side discharge. As we move to the right, you'll find a water level indicator in the blue area. And as we move down, you'll find the Foam Pro. This is for your foam system. There are instructions down in the lower placard. Let's start now with the Pierce pressure throttle governor. First, starting in the left, you'll find the check engine. If illuminated, it would be yellow in color. Located in the center, you'll find a digital readout for the RPM. Moving to the right, if illuminated, it would be red in color, is a stop engine light. As we move down, you'll find the orange menu button. This allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pressure throttle governor.
Also located directly in the center, you'll find diagnostic engine information, and then to the very far right, you'll find a red silence button, allowing you to silence any audible alarms. As we move down, you'll find two options, either pressure or RPM mode. Those are the two modes that you can move into by selecting either one of those, and the light will illuminate, indicating which one you've selected. Located in the center, you'll find a digital readout, and then moving to the right, you'll find a throttle ready. It's a green indicator, and then just beneath that, you'll find a preset, allowing you to preset any pressure or RPM positions. At the very bottom, you'll find your throttle, right to increase, left to decrease, push in the center for idle. As we move to the upper right-hand corner, difficult to see in the image, there is an audible alarm speaker. It's located in the upper right-hand corner. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen the sound. You'll also find, once again, your water level indicator in blue, and then in red, the foam level indicator. As we move down to the very bottom of the image, you'll find your engine cooler. That is a twist, not a pull. Let's move up from that location. We'll identify a few more discharges. First, the passenger rear discharge and also the rear driver's side discharge. You'll also find on the very far right your tank fill and recirculating. As we move upward, you'll find a few switches. First, the panel light, which will allow you to brighten the lights within the panel area. And then also an indicator indicating, if green, that your pump is okay to pump. There's also a spare located just beneath that. Let's move down to the green large diameter passenger side discharge. Moving further down, you'll find your fire pump primer is a push to prime. For best practices, you should operate at least 1,000 RPMs, and there's information in the tag just below. You'll also find your tank to pump, and then just to the right of the tank to pump, you'll find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Be cautious when opening caps, they may be under pressure. Let's move all the way to the very top. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 test pressures. To the right, you'll find your master intake gauge. This is the gray area. And then further to the right, you'll find your master discharge. In between the two of those is where you'll find your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Those would be for pump pressure testing. Let's move just to the left or closer to the cab. That's where you'll find your crosslays. Crosslay number 1 and crosslay number 2, both water and foam capable. Further to the right and directly over the pump panel, gaining access to the dunnage, you'll find 2 grab handles. You'll also find fold down steps. There are 2 pictured on the right hand side, and as we move upward, we'll find 3 additional steps that fold down to gain access to the dunnage area. Let's move now to the body. We'll identify a few things within the body. First, starting down at the very bottom, this is a marker clearance light. Moving upward from that location, you'll find at just above the axle an emergency warning light. And as we move all the way to the top, you'll find a side-facing scene light. Let's go ahead and take a look with the compartments in the open position. We'll start down in the lower left-hand compartment. First, starting with a pull-out tray. To access the tray, on the right-hand side of the tray is the release mechanism. It will lock in the open position. You'll need to push to release to restore back to its original position. Let's move upward from this location into the same compartment. This is where you're going to find your battery charging system and also shore power. As you can see in the very top section, this is your shoreline inlet. When you plugged into shoreline, this will be active. Moving just to the left, you'll find your battery charging system. So when you're plugged into shore power, it will maintain your batteries. As we move just to the front of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage locations. You'll also find in the center compartment a tool board. The D handle gains access. Inside there is also a locking mechanism to release and restore. Just release the locking mechanism. As we move to the right, you'll find your ultra low sulfur diesel silver cap and also the blue DEF cap. Moving just behind the rear axle is where you'll find your folding chock storage location. There are 2 on this side. As we move to the rear compartment, you'll find a pull-out tray. In the lower section, right-hand side of the corner, is the release mechanism. On the back wall, you'll also find these plugs will be active when plugged into shore power. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus. We'll start now just underneath the rear area of the apparatus, first with the perimeter lighting located on the passenger and driver side rear section. Located directly in the center is where your tow hook attachment point is. Difficult to see, it's black in color. As we move upward from this location, you'll find your tail lights housing at the very top, emergency warning light, brake light, turn, and reverse light. Moving up from that location, you'll find a switch for your deck lights. This controls the deck lights on the top of the apparatus. You'll also find license plate holder and also a flagpole holder. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find the D handle. that gains access behind this area. This is the location for storage of your drafting tubes. There are 2 locations for those. Let's take a look now in the rear section where you'll find your 2.5-inch inlet. Moving just to the right of that location, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. As we move further down, you'll find some warning labels. First warning label is entanglement hazard. Because of those hoses coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. And then also we advise warning regarding not riding on or climbing on the vehicle while it is in motion. As we move to the right in the very center, you'll find your backup camera. And then moving further to the right, you'll find an additional discharge. This is going to be a 2.5 reduced down to 1.5 inches. Let's go ahead and move downward from this location where you'll find in the center a roll-up compartment door and also adjustable shelving inside the compartment and LED lighting. As we move to the vertical side, you'll find fold-down steps on the passenger and driver side. As we move to the ladder compartment behind the pan door, you'll find a 24-foot extension ladder. Just to the right of that, you'll find a 14-foot roof ladder. And then moving all the way to the very top is where you'll find your attic, 10-foot. As we move just to the left, you'll find 2 pike pulls located in the tubes in the upper left-hand corner. Let's go ahead and move now onto the top of the vehicle in the rear section of the body, where you'll find your hatch compartments on the passenger and driver's side. There is LED lighting inside the compartments. Here's a quick look inside. And then we'll go ahead and move toward the front area, toward the dunnage area or hose bed area. As we move to the hose bed, you'll find a side-facing lift door on the passenger and driver's side. You'll also find access into the dunnage area where you'll find your water tank and then also your foam tank. This is your Class A foam tank. It does have a warning label on it regarding do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Move just in front of this location is where you'll find your master stream device. You'll also find a release mechanism allowing it to extend to raise higher than the level of the cab. As we move to the very front section of the cab, we do have some warning labels here. This is a non-walking surface, and that's why we have those warning labels there. Just a couple more images here of the hose bed area. And we'll go ahead and move now to the side of the vehicle. We'll move down the passenger side. Same configuration as the driver's side, but we'll identify a few areas of points of interest in this area. First, I'd like to point out just down at the very bottom here by the marker light, there is a warning label. Extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious as to where you choose to park your vehicle and the location of your tailpipe. Let's move now to the compartments themselves where you'll find adjustable shelving and LED lighting. You can see in the upper left-hand corner there is access to shore power outlets. And then also just in front of the rear axle is your diesel exhaust tailpipe. As we move upward in this location, you'll find additional access for shore power outlets. And then as we move to the pump panel, we'll identify a few items within this area. Let's start just under like we did last time. We do have perimeter lighting just under the pump panel area. As we move upward to the step area, you'll find a cutout for hose storage, dry deck material, and then also you'll find Velcro straps. As we move up, you'll find all of your color-coded discharge drains, and you'll also find a pan door to gain access behind the pump panel. As we move just to the right area, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is a female passenger side inlet. Moving up from this location, we'll find the green large diameter passenger side discharge. Moving just to the right, the Pierce American Flag Eagle is your large diameter pump intake. And then moving to the right, an additional warning label here regarding pressure hazard. The caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Just to the right, you'll find an additional 2.5-inch discharge. Kind of tucked in behind that, you'll find your cab lift. There are instructions for raise and lower, and there's also a protected switch for raise and lower and the activation switch. You'll also find just under the crosslay an access panel here. And then as we move upward, you'll find the number 1 and number 2 crosslay, same as we did on the driver's side. Let's move to the cab now. Identify a few items here. Once again, door handles have the ability to use a gloved hand, and they are also keyed lock. As we move inside of that location, you'll find your grab handle at all points of entry for gaining access in and out. And then as we move to the very top, you'll find that side-facing floodlight. Let's take a look inside the cab. First, we'll start with 2 SCBA seats rear-facing. As we move to the center, you'll find your air conditioning and also your intercom system headsets. As we move to the rear wall, you'll find that EMS compartment and then also roll-up compartment door. Let's move to the exterior of the vehicle. We'll start with the wheel. Once again, Goodyear tires, Alcoa wheels. In the very center, you have a sight gauge for your axle grease. As we move to the door panel, you'll find all of your warning information labels affixed to the door panel. Just inside on the A-pillar is where you'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Also, as we look to the center, you'll find access panel here. This is where all your electrical maintenance information will be, is directly behind that panel. As we move to the seat area, you'll find a seat drop-down access panel. Gain access under the seat for storage. As we move to the seat for the officer, you'll find SCBA bottle storage also. And as we move overhead, you'll find air conditioning and also your pull ropes for your air horn. As we move just over the officer head in the very front, you'll find your wireless system for your fire comm system. These are for the wireless headsets. And as we move upward from that location, you'll find once again your fire comm system module at the very top for volume control. As we move to the center, just inward of that location, you'll find seatbelt monitoring information. Red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted. Green, they're in the seat and belted. As we move to the front of the officer space, you'll find 12-volt access via USB style. And I would like to point out, you may find these throughout the vehicle. These are warning information, candy cane style labels indicating that there is a wire behind this. It also has all of the information as to what type of wire and the connection it is. Congratulations, Rogue River, Oregon, on your new Pierce Fire apparatus, job number 34624. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.